Here we go. Okay, wait. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Sorry, guys. All right. Hi, welcome to Event Ready Podcast, where we talk about our roller coaster ride of being a life event artist.
So if you're a painter, calligrapher, or illustrator, this podcast is for you.
Because we're about to uncover the secrets, the stories, and the struggles of the industry. We are your hosts, Michelle.
And I'm Talisa.
And Isabel.
Hi, welcome back to our Event Ready podcast. So today we are going to be talking about client relationship management system. I have been using it for 4 years now, and it's been great and it's been very useful. And today we're going to talk about what it is and how we use it, which one that we're using, and so on and so forth. So before we we spill the tea about client relationship management system. So we're just gonna call it CRM. It's basically a system that helps mostly business owners in our for in our for the purpose of this podcast. So it helps a lot of business owners freelancing, like photographer, videographer, artists like us, and it really improves the interaction between you and your clients. You can track your client details, your sales, your communication, all like in one place. So the main goal is to have a better have a really good interaction with your clients, so you can really have a good relationship with them, and also better for your business. So yeah, so you can track your email, have your contract, invoices, and all in one, so you don't have to have like different apps, so it's just all in one. We just captured everything, so it's great. um, yeah. So Michelle, can you spill the tea for
Oh,
us?
yes, of course. Okay, so the CRMs are like the client relationship management system. So it's not really, it might not be necessary when you're just starting out, but as your business starts to grow more, it really does become an essential tool to like help streamline the process. Talisa said it brings everything all together. So this will help save time, effort, and help to minimize the errors in client management.
Yeah, so some of the key things that we are looking for or we value for our freelance businesses, especially for us as live event artists, we're looking at probably the most important thing anyway to me, is tracking your leads and your clients. So that's using lead capture forms, things that you can embed in your website to capture, somebody who wants to reach out to you and contact you for a job inquiry. Name, phone number, address, event details, event venue, date and time, all that sort of stuff. Capture it in one place and it goes directly into your CRM, without you having to manually input that. You can create custom fields to track people. Like you can say, oh, this person who inquired is, a planner or another artist that or something like that, where you can identify each person that comes in, and label your contacts. Talisa mentioned this before about synchronizing your email. So it just like is a more effective way to manage your emails. Once you have an email address inputted for a client, then you can see all your emails with this person, in one, like their contact landing page. Whereas, if you're managing it in Gmail, you have to like search their name every time and then like find the 50 emails that are related to them, which is super annoying. So the second key function that we're looking for is like developing your quotes and your contracts. You can create templates for these where you can just slot in like new client names, event times, your event rate, that sort of thing, like things that change per event, but then everything else stays the same. You're utilizing the same quote, same contract, same items that you're billing. And then looking for like an e-sign functionality is super important. It is 2024. Nobody wants to print a thing and sign it and scan it back. Like we don't want to do that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I mean, some businesses still rely on that, which is, I think it's, when we're talking about having an effective experience with your client, if you can prevent asking your client to do more steps, that's very valuable for you to say
Yeah.
like, hey, this is where you click to sign it and it's done in
Yeah,
1 second.
and it's also really important since we're in 2024. Everybody's using their phone. Their phone is their computer. Like we want to make sure that they can just sign it using their phone, not like, oh, I have to go to my computer to do
Yeah.
this.
And it increases the probability of them actually signing it because it's all in one. You get
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say that we're tricking anybody, but if it's really quick, like what are the chances they're scrolling through like 10 pages? Or, I mean, not that our contracts are 10 pages, but like having to just say like, yes, I accept, go on, type my name here to sign it, and then it's just done, off their plate, off your plate. It just makes everybody happy when it's all quick and easy.
And I like the templates part. Like I have different contract for different type of services and different types of, like, if it's like one day or like, multiple days. And that's like, it saves so much time, and I can do it on my phone. Like I can just like create the contract and then send it, like super easy.
Yes. Having like an app, so important. Yeah. There are times where I feel like I've been on the receiving end of contracts that aren't what's the word, accessible by your phone, by an app, and it's a pain. You're checking an email and you're opening this thing and this thing says like open your desktop, and it's instant annoyance.
Yeah. Even like no shades to Adobe, but like every, every single time, like I have to go like first I
As
have
she
to find it.
names them.
And like why is it always asking me to pay just for me to sign? It's kind of annoying.
It's true. I'm receiving a contract. Just let me sign for free.
Yeah, let me make it easy, like yeah, those are the things that we like save so much time, and yeah, like better relationship, like we said before.
Yeah,
Like, oh my God,
it's an
so easy.
experience thing. Yeah, you want to be associated with being easy to do business with, not like, oh, this girl's asking me to do what?
Yeah, like the process super easy.
For sure. Okay, so the next key function we're looking for is invoicing and payment facilitation. So let's talk about, repeated invoice items that we want to use over and over again. We want to create a template for it. So you're not having to do that work every single time you sign a client and want to bill them, right? Payment facilitation is super important for, a lot of people do credit card payments now, and I mean, it's kind of just again, it's experience and interaction. It's just quicker, it's faster. A lot of clients still move through their accounts payable departments for like certain funds transfers, but lots of clients are able to just bill their corporate credit card or whatever just immediately. And again, it's increasing the probability of you getting that deposit, increasing probability of you getting paid on time, like all that sort of thing. Credit card payments, cost a little bit more, but being able to offer that as a payment method that's built into your invoice, amazing.
Yeah. I want to add something to that. When you mentioned about the corporates, sometimes corporates, because they're huge, they have like their own accounting department. A lot of times they do net 30 and so on and so forth. And it could be net 30 after you send the invoice or net 30 after like the event. However you think works out for you. I'm pretty flexible. But I have like contract based on that. So they don't like cancel on me. So anyway, speaking of that, payment by the accounting, you it's so smart that you can set a due date where it's like overdue. Like you could put like net 30 and it knows right away. Um, like when it's gonna be due, and then obviously when you have so many clients, you're like, I don't know who's out owing me and who's still like have enough time. And then and understandably, big companies have their like their term when they pay all of their vendors, and it's such a simple update when they do bank transfer. At least you don't get charged the credit card fee. But like it's just an additional like like you just basically go into your invoice and update that, oh yeah, you got a bank transfer and this is already paid, and then you can immediately send like a receipt, so like your client has that on their file. And I think that's like s- so amazing, because a lot of them like they want their receipt because it's part of their business expense too, right? To hire us.
Yes. And I think it's so useful when your CRM like prompts you to do things like that. Because you might not have thought of that yourself as the business owner, where you're like, oh, I think like this is a good thing to add. Oh, I think I should do that. But there are times where the app kind of, once you say like, mark this invoice as paid, how much did you get, on what date, I received it by bank transfer, and you click OK, and then it says send receipt, and you're like, oh yeah, I do want to do that. And that's like,
Yeah.
that's nice when these platforms are built on the backs of like millions of freelancers feedbacks and what are like nice to have functions, and it's giving you prompts of things that might be helpful, and you can say
Yeah.
no. But there are times where these things come up and you can just kind of follow their prompts, and you're like, oh, this is smart, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It makes you look profesh.
It does. And it's like it reminds you all these things. Like if there's a late payment for some reason, or maybe you forgot to mark it as paid, the CRM will notify you and say, hey, this payment is overdue. And you can go and take a look at it and mark it off whatever you need to, or chase after your payment if that's what you need to do. So it's like so many cool options that allow you to make it easier. So you don't always have to look through it or sift through like all of your documents, all of your potential payments. Like it just tells you right there when there's
Mhm. Yeah, it's like how like you have like your own little mini team of
Yeah, you have like it's
administrative
your
staff.
assistant. Yeah, it's like your cute little assistant, and every single action that you need to do to remind, like to communicate with your client, there's sometimes already like pre-written template that they prepare for you, and you can change things around and you can always update that. And I think like that's really really neat, because I'm like, I don't know how to say this, like um
Yes, and like good point. You just made me think of something that like a lot of these tools now have been updated with like some AI capabilities, which
mhm.
is neat. I've tested out a couple things here and there, but it's obviously like work in progress. We're gonna get to a more effective way of incorporating AI into these things, but it's like you said, it already has pre-built in templates and ways of saying things that can really help you. You just kind of like take what you need from it and discard the rest,
I know.
which is really nice. Okay, moving on to the next key function. I wanted to talk about calendar synchronization.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
I use Google Calendars. I don't know who doesn't. It's kind of essential at this point, especially if you're doing live events. So you're scheduling these things in Google or in your Apple Calendar or whatever you use. But at some point, you want that information to match with your CRM, which have to kind of go hand in hand with, your event dates, times, to do tasks. All those things should kind of pair up. Your CRM should include synchronization with your calendar. And if it doesn't, then no.
Essential. Like
Essential.
you don't
Oh
want to
my
show up
God.
to a wrong event.
Yeah, there's been like I think before I started really using CRM for calendar and clients, um, not that like I've shown up at the wrong time, but like having a calendar event and then having like invoices and client details managed separately. Every time there's a change, you have to change it in two different places or three
Oh
different
my
places, and
God,
that's so like
annoying.
bonkers annoying. So this is nice. Like if I can change it on Google, it updates in CRM, or I can change it in CRM and it updates in Google.
Yeah.
You cannot go without it. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. It took me like I think, dude, I was like using paper calendars so long. Even though I had my CRM, like it was synchronized, but it wasn't like updated properly until I like switch up my CRM, and then I need to start using it properly. So like I put the date and everything, so like it knows when I'm like already booked and whatnot. Super super important.
I forgot to say this earlier, but there's also a function to do like booking calls and stuff. So let's
Yeah.
say you have like a client call, discovery call that you want to do with your prospects or whatnot. You can also enable your calendar to say like, hey, check my calendar for openings that are, I don't know, longer than 2 hours, and schedule them for 30 minutes. Like all these things are functionality you can build in, and then kind of present your client with a link and say like, oh, here, just click here to book a call with me. And then that will display your availabilities based on your constraints. And that's super useful too. I don't do a call with a client every time, but when I have to, I don't want to do like 10 emails back and forth like, how about Tuesday at 4 p.m.? How about that? Like, oh, no. Nobody got time for that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
That's too much. Plus, you have your regular job, and then you have like this going on. Like, you don't have time for it to go back and forth.
That's what it is. I if I had to spend so much time on emails with this job, like it drives me insane. Like it's probably my least favorite thing to do, to like do emails. Mm-mm.
Yeah. This is like not the fun part of the business. This admin stuff, emails, like, no.
Yeah, I just want to book a job and do a job,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
don't
I
book
think
it and move on.
so. Michelle, you're using Honeybook, and and you know what? All the CRMs are usually have the exact same type of function, whether you're using Honeybook or Dubsado or 17 Hats. Um, there are some other function that are very very useful as a business owner. Um,
Can I talk about them?
yeah, it's Michelle's turn to talk. That's all. Like Michelle, go.
You can go.
Go.
So like Michelle, go. Keep going.
Well, okay, so 17, I mean, Honeybook. I only have used Honeybook before. I don't have experience with all the other ones that you guys usually use. I know that you guys use 17 Hats and other people. There's so many different ones out there. Honeybook was recommended to me after using this. I don't even want to talk about it, but I had a really junk website before that was basically just being used for invoices, and I had to do that weird thing where I would send the invoice to them and then I would attach a paper, like a Word document from my contract. And it was just so ugly. It was like the kind that they had to print out, sign it, and then email it back to me. So I was using that for a long time, like before I got super busy. And so when I started to get more inquiries and everything started coming in, then I started looking around. Honeybook was recommended to me, and I actually really, really like it. After you get over the learning curve of like how many things that you can do on it, it makes it so much more easier. And like I pay kind of a lot for it, but you know, if you take a look at all the things that Isabel and you, Talisa, have listed earlier about the things that you can do with it, it just makes it so much easier to have everything in one spot. And I like you guys pretty much mentioned all of it already, but the thing that I find myself using the most would be to send the contract with the quote, and then the third page would be the page that they pay on. And it makes it so easy because it gives them options, like you want to pay with credit card, bank transfer, you can even pay with Venmo or PayPal.
Oh, it has Venmo now.
Not, I mean, they have to pay with Venmo and I need to physically mark it as paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I can connect it, but it's just that option to mark it as paid from there. And then because I keep sending the same contract over and over again, like you can just keep that and then change the little fields, like the date, what kind of service you're doing. It allows you to change like pretty much anything, like the name of the location, the event, the person you're sending it to. So it's so easy. I can do all of that in like maybe 10 minutes as soon as you get the information. You just do and then send it off. Super easy.
Yeah, and then what's really neat about that when you enter all those fields, like where it is, when, who's your contact, what company, and then you create a contract, and then there's like where it just picks up all those fields, like like a fill in the blank, and it just based on what you've entered. So it's super super neat. Um, Saves so much time.
It
And I'm
does.
telling, yeah, like when I was in HR, I had to do everything manually.
Ew.
Like
So
literally
ew.
typing it one by one, change to PDF, send it to the employee. I mean, send it to the candidate, and then like,
And
No,
I
we're
don't know.
not doing that.
I don't know about you guys, but if something takes like too long to do on my end, then I like start like ruminating on it. And I'm like, oh, should I change that or should I type this instead? Oh, like is the price right? Like you start. For me, if I were to have to do something manual like that, then it gives me like time to like find things wrong with it, and then I like second guess, and then I just the faster it is, the just like get the thing, input the client details, and then just like send it off, just send it off and get it off my mind. Then I don't have time to second guess myself. It's like it's gone, it's on
Yeah.
the template, it's gone.
Yeah,
yeah,
and you can
it's
also
out
edit
there.
it. Like if something was like a little mistake or something, you can just go back in, edit it, and then send it back. Or
Mhm.
if the client didn't sign it yet, you don't even have to send it back. They'll just see it when they open it. So
Mhm.
I really do
Yeah.
like that about Honeybook. I'm pretty sure yours does that too.
Yeah, they all like do the same thing. So I actually used to use Honeybook, and then I switched to 17 Hats, only for like one feature that I had been eyeing on, which is
What
the
was
live
it?
view. It was the live view, so I was able to send a link as opposed to um them having to have their email, because sometimes it gets forwarded to their district manager or like their bosses to approve it, and then they can't do that unless I have their email. But with the live view, it's like anyone can view it within that
With the link.
organization. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
link view. So it's like it's seen as like it's as it's already like, and we can see it when it's viewed. And because sometimes I just don't have the email of the person who's supposed to approve it, or like they'll let me know. and they would just give me a name but not their email. So,
Or the person that ends up paying for it is not the
yeah,
person that you're sending the
contact.
contract to.
Exactly. So I think, and because when I deal with a lot of corporates and brands, that happened a lot. And it was just so much easier to do the live view, where it's like the contract, quote, and invoice, it's all as a link, right? That's doesn't require additional security. Because, like, I mean, look at it this way: like, who wants to get into it? Like, someone else wants to pay for it, fine. Like, it's not a matter, it won't affect my bank account or anything. It's just like,
Yeah.
right, like, what does it need as additional security layer for them to pay me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So it was
agree.
I have
so it
that
was
too on Honeybook where you can send a link, but you have to enter the
their
person's
email,
email.
right?
And
Yeah.
that's an
So
extra
sometimes I
step.
don't have their email.
Yeah. See, that's so nice.
It was that one feature that I wanted so bad. That's why I switched. And like it just, and then, like, even if I, like, if they haven't signed it, if I want to change something in the contract that I realized I missed or something, I could do that. But as soon as they signed it, and if I change it, it's gonna prompt them to, like, they have to sign it again, you know. So
Yeah.
it was,
Mine does that one too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like these are like really what we're discussing are all like key functionality that like no one CRM is going to be like, oh, we can't handle like live updates to contracts. Like all of these platforms are going to offer the same thing in slightly different ways. um what was I going to say? It and they'll have like different tiers too, where you can have I think even 17 Hats came out with a free version where
yeah,
you just do invoices or something like, and then the next step might be like, oh, now you can do quotes that combine a contract. You can do credit card payments for a slightly higher fee or whatever it is, and then the next tier is a slightly lower fee, and then you have more functionality, which we didn't mention earlier, but like other functionality like automation, assigning workflows to your clients. Um, but yeah, like it just depends on like what you're needing at your stage of business. Where if you have 5 clients a year and you kind of feel like, well, I don't really mind handling emails on my own, and just writing out an invoice by scratch every time, like that's totally normal and fine. I didn't start using CRM until say like 2 years ago. And I think I mentioned on previous episodes where like I was using PayPal for my invoicing, and then contracts, I at times I would send like a PDF, like similar to what Michelle did. But then I would manage all my emails manually by myself, just Gmailing everything. And then all my leads would be captured through my website form instead of like a CRM form, right? And then so when I get a lead from the website, I would then have to manually input all that information somewhere else to create an invoice or track them somehow. But at that point, I wasn't having enough business to like really care about that work. So I just was like, oh, it's fine, until a certain point where I was like, okay, this is now like I can't keep track of this stuff myself. What if I lose an inquiry in the inbox, or I forgot to follow up with somebody, or whatever it is. So yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for and how much help you need managing all that. But yeah, just do a little bit of research into like what you're looking for and what offers what you need at a reasonable price. I think some of them can be extremely expensive, but they're like monster applications that like perhaps a freelancer doesn't need for live events. Maybe like more complex projects or something. Moving
I
on.
want to say that I like that you started off small first. Like you were like, I'm just going to try this on like PDF or just send an invoice because like you don't know what you need in the beginning and you don't want to spend all this money for something that you may or may not need. You kind of just try it out first, figure it out, and then you're like, okay, well, it can be more streamlined from here. And then you start looking into different types of CRMs for your business. And I think that's like the way to go, especially if you're just starting off as like just new with your business. Like you don't need all this stuff yet unless you're like super busy right from the beginning.
I also used PayPal
Yeah.
during my first year, and it was good enough for me. Like you don't have to pay extra, and then like most people usually pay like bank transfer anyway, so it's just a matter of like having a uh, a document that like this is the invoice that I'm sending to you. Yeah, and same thing with the contract, and it was yeah, and then like it just I think after a year or two, it was like I need something better. I'm saying like there's like usually every single CRM usually have the free version of it, or like something like super like low cost that you can start just to get used to it.
See, I wish I knew that. Like my very first, I want to say first 5 contracts, not even a contract. I was actually going onto Google and just finding like an invoice creator. So where I can put my name, the client's name, and what I'm doing. So it's just not even a CRM at all. And then I didn't even have a contract, and they actually had to send me a check because I didn't have any payment system set up. And that was like for the first 5. And I'm like, oh, this looks very unprofessional. Should probably do something about it.
Don't have any shame about that
No, yeah,
because
everybody made mistakes.
now
Yeah.
oh no, I was gonna say armed with all my CRM tools and my electronic contracts, some people still send me checks. So it's totally fine.
I don't
Like,
mind.
what is
We're still
this?
getting paid.
Speaking of
Uh,
like checks and payment, well, this is very recent to me because I have been terrible before, is the bookkeeping. Isabel's like staring at me
I am watching you and your every move. I
because
bet right now you hit like bookkeeping and your
oh
mind
my
just thinks of me.
yeah, so I'm like, oh, Isabel will be so proud of me that I'm doing this right now. But I'm gonna tell you what all the mistakes that I did before. So before I just used Excel that my accountant sent me, and then I have to like fill it out every single whatever expense that I had. Obviously, I had to be on my computer to do that, and obviously because it's very inconvenient, I didn't do it until the tax season.
She said Excel and I fainted.
And I'm like, why am I every single year during the tax season? Like, my accountant would be like, emailing me like, by the way, it's due like really soon. Like, you better send this to me now. I'm like,
It was due last week, girl.
so and I actually had Honeybook at that time. I could have used their bookkeeping thing. I don't know, I was just like lazy, and then like I'd like when I started Honeybook, I was like it was just too there was so much going on that I was so overwhelmed by it that like I didn't fully utilize it. So when I switch over, I'm like, I need to start clean. So I actually started using 17 Hats last year. And then obviously, like, I talked to Isabel about it because he was already on 17 Hats. I'm like, and then the bookkeeping, it's just like something that I never touch. And then I'm like, should probably do this, like, for every single expense that I have. And it's so nice now. I can see like the like my net, my profit, like every single type of expense that I did, and I can see what cost the most. And you know when we say like what gets wait, what's
Measured.
the word? Yeah, what gets measured
Measured.
gets managed.
Yeah.
So like which part of the stuff that I don't really need anymore, like what subscription that I don't need anymore, I can see that very clearly, like month to month, year to date. Um, it's just so nice. It's just habit. It's just a habit that I
I'm
haven't
so
like.
proud of you. Oh gosh. We do a lot of things for each other's praise, by the way. We just like to everyone listening, we just with our three-way chat is like, look guys, look what we did. And then we're like, oh my God, love that you did that. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. I'm proud of me too. Yes, bookkeeping, so useful. I can say when I first onboarded to 17 Hacks, I used that right away. It was like one of the biggest things that I wanted to get organized on. Um, when I was like, I need a CRM because I want to track these things and not have to Excel it. Um, Because you have your Excel spreadsheet and it's got like 10 different tabs of like your various like, oh, this is what's happening on this platform. These are the bank transfers that I've exported. These are what's coming through PayPal. These are what's coming through. Like it's a lot of things that you have to put your own time into managing. So I just really wanted a central place to do all that and categorize them. And I'm that person who like named all my categories myself. I used some of the 17 hats built-in categories, but then I renamed a whole bunch of them so that it would fit better with me as far as tax reporting goes. So if there's a category in there, because I think 17 hats is quite like geared towards the US, so a lot of categories don't match with Canadian tax reporting. So I just like name the categories to what I know. I'm inputting into what do I use? Oh my God. TurboTax. Like what I know what categories I'm writing off or income categories. So then once I've inputted everything according to that, then it spits out the report exactly as I need to input it at tax time. So then it's just like one line by one line, and I'm not at that time adding things or subtracting things and then like causing more work later on. So that's been really nice.
You're so
Yes.
organized. You inspired me to do all this stuff. I was worse than all of you guys. I did not do any of that. I just started tracking it, like even after Talisa started hers, and it's been really good. But you know what's sad? Honeybook just notified me that they're going to take off the expenses tab. So I don't.
What?
Yeah.
Girl, come to 17 hats.
I've been meaning to email them and ask, like, what are you going to put there in place? I just started this.
Okay, so 17 hats goes on the list of things we need to ask for sponsorship money for.
Yeah.
Squarespace and 17 hats needs to pay us right now.
Are they like taking away because they want that to be like an add-on?
I don't know. It's just there's a little thingy at the top that says May 25th, 2025. The expenses tab is going to be gone.
Maybe they're moving it.
Yeah, is it being absorbed into something else?
That's like a
I have no
huge
idea.
thing. Yeah.
That is huge. Maybe they're going to
Red flag.
Yeah. So
You need
yeah,
to look
talking
into
about
that.
things that we wish we had different or, wish was better, I guess. I love Honeybook, but I don't know. They're going to take that away. I don't know.
Okay, we do need to talk about this, like the love and hates about our CRM, because
Yeah.
I have one major gripe with 17 hats, which
Oh.
is This is gonna sound really dumb. I'm sorry, but I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. Uh, at least for the tier that I am in, I can't alter things like fonts. I mean, there's like a selection of like 4 or 5 fonts that I can use. Again, in my tier of pricing. I don't know if the higher tiers have 50 different fonts, but I'm like, I just want things to look a certain way on my website. And if I insert like a lead form that just looks so different, I hate that. It's such a small aesthetic thing that I just can't get over. Like, let me have more fonts.
Um, I I'm at the highest one. I don't remember if there is any because I think when I set it up, it was like during busy time, so I was just like just whatever,
Yeah,
and I never
forget it.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really look into the aesthetic. Um, yeah, I don't remember, but I do remember that like the lead form like look
Kind
blah
of,
compared
yeah,
to like what
kind of
I was
clunky.
able to
Yeah,
build
yeah.
from Honeybook. Yeah. For me, well, the pros like we've pretty much talked about it, but the cons for 17 hats is like the payment is like it's not like direct like Honeybook. Like it's what is it? Is it by Square?
You can pair a payment provider with it. So I use Stripe, and I think
Yes. Yeah.
you used something else, or no, you still
No,
have Stripe.
I think it's connected to, so I had to, well, I already had Stripe like account.
Yes.
So like it's all like the data is from there. So I
Yeah.
cannot get the data from like, the HSD and everything. I'm talking about the tax whatnot. It's coming from like a different not from the 17 hats.
Wait, hold on. No, you can get your sales tax in 17 hats. We are gonna take that offline. We'll talk about that later. But you can. Yeah. I don't go to Stripe to export anything for that.
Okay. All right. So that's probably a side note that I'm
But
like
it
not
is
familiar
but it
with.
is a good thing to mention too, though, because it is kind of like, it would be nice if they just absorbed like a payment function rather than saying like, oh, you need to go to Stripe and get an account and then get that set up and then come back to 17 hats to like finish up. Not that the client sees that, when they
No,
hit
it's more
pay,
like our data. Like I
it's for
also want to
us.
see, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
see like how much like fees that I've had to pay from my,
Fees. That's what it
yeah.
was.
It's the
Yes.
fees. I need to know.
It's the fees. Yeah. The
Yeah.
credit card fees have to be exported from Stripe, which is
Yeah,
silly.
which
Like,
is
why can't we just have it all in one place? That wasn't that the
yeah,
point? We said all in one
exactly.
place, didn't we?
Are you guys
That was
paying two
the
credit card fees, like one for Stripe and one for your 17 hats?
No. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so the credit card payments are managed through Stripe. The client, again,
Got it.
doesn't see that. So they land on 17 hats, hit pay, they enter their credit card, and then it's paid. They don't get forwarded somewhere else or anything. But on our end, that facilitator is through a third party.
I see. I mean, I think a lot of websites use that. Like I sell merchandise on Squarespace and I have to go through Stripe
Square.
for that
Stripe.
also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing that I'm kind of annoyed about. Like, cause I like to have the data all in one place, not having to like log
Nope.
in.
We had another complaint about 17 hats recently. Do you remember? Not
Oh,
being able
the
to
contact.
put the lead form into a reply.
Yeah,
I want to hit reply and have all the entries in my email.
exactly. Yeah, that too. I brought it up to them, to the customer service, and then we both did. So like, can you add that in the feature? Like, cause
Please.
I'm pretty sure they probably could like be, talking, inquiring different artists. Like, I don't want them to think like, how did they find my name? Like they probably forgot. Right?
Yeah.
Um,
Because they form keywords again, like in your email tracking. If I want to search for something, I would like to just find that email right away. And if that thread, I want to know like the venue or whatever it is, like I want it included in the body, right? Um, yeah, that would be nice to have.
All of these things that you guys mentioned, like it sounds like there's never going to be a perfect CRM system, but is it like manageable for you guys, or is it something that it's like so big that you're like, I want to start looking at different platforms?
It's manageable. So I think like when I started Honeybook, they also had things that I did not like, and I was like bugging them. Can you add this like a functionality? Why can't I add my client's address on the invoice? Like every single accounting department wants to see the billing address in the invoice. I was not able to do that for a long time with Honeybook. They finally upgraded that after like 2 years of me using it. I'm like, finally, because it was like it used to be just on the contract, but I cannot add that on the invoice. It just made no sense to me. So like it was like I could get by to it, but like those things are the stuff that you want to communicate with the company and like, hey, you need to add this feature, and then they'll bring it to their team, and then like eventually they add it. So I think when there's more people um inquiring it, then they'll work on it.
After 2 years. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the little things are manageable because you do like the system, but then like it's kind of annoying that you have to deal with these little things here and there.
It's never perfect, but they're always continuously improving it too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe this is something like we can get our listeners input on too. Like I'm sure there's lots of people who use lots of different applications for your CRM. So we want to hear about it. Tell us what you use. Tell us if you're happy with it.
yeah.
Because we want to know. I know there's a lot that are like just like much bigger programs than we need, but maybe the functionalities are just smoother because they have worked those things out. So hard to say. And I'm just like not in a position to answer Michelle's question to switch anything based on like my complaints about the current system. It's not problematic enough for me to look at other options and have to like start over.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I was just saying that because I really felt that when I was using my first invoice setup. Like I couldn't add certain things. This website was mainly for like food businesses. So it's basically just
Oh.
to take a credit card payment and then, you're done. You go and get like a bagel and that's what it's for. It's not
Mhm.
really for like sending clients an invoice plus a contract with it too. Like that's not what it's set up for at all. So like
Mhm.
switching over was such a huge thing for me. But now that I've been using it for maybe 1 or 2 years, I'm like, oh, there's like little issues here and there. But also I'm kind of lazy. Like I don't really want to look at other ones. And I'm like, after my learning curve for Honeybook, I got so used to it already that I know where everything is. I made it look the way I want it to. I made it so where like it looks pretty on my website. They can fill out the form and then it leads back to my email and then everything just gets set up in a nice profile. And I'm like, I don't think I have the brain capacity to like look for something else, but it works for now.
I mean, for someone who have actually moved, migrating is a pain in the ass. I do not
Yeah.
recommend unless you really have to, like you personally need to, like it really bother you so much. Like, to answer that question, yeah, that's happened to me before. And I felt like Honeybook was good for like freelancers whose client base are not really corporate. That's how I felt until they finally updated it. And then now that's like it's just like a lot of freelancers also working for corporates. Like we need to have a proper billing address and like who it's for and everything. But um yeah, migrating is not fun. So make sure that you want to do your research. You can probably try different things and see what works. And yeah, honestly, I think one very important advice that I could say when it comes to CRM, if you're like just starting to like, looking into using it, is really take your time to learn. Don't rush it. Don't try to rush building everything. It really did take a lot of time to like utilize all the function. I personally have not used all the functions that they have offered. It's just there's so many things that you could have done, probably make your work so much easier. Don't freak out about it. Like, it's just take your time, and you might be able to even hire someone to build it for you. I know that in Honeybook community there are people who do that. Like, if you just start and you can hire someone to build it up for you, to build like the whole system for you. And I think like that's pretty wonderful if you have the investment to do so. But like, take your time.
Yeah, I agree with like starting small and incorporating more functions over time. I very much remember starting out with 17 hats, and all I was comfortable doing was using it for invoicing. And I was like, I don't even want to bother with like creating the lead thing, or like, oh, I don't want to like look at bookkeeping right now. I just want to use like once I signed on, I didn't want to have the pressure of like the next new client that came in, I was going to have like a perfect client experience, like step 1 through 5, all within 17 hats. Like I didn't want to give myself that pressure. I was like, okay, just like do everything the same, but then like invoice with 17 hats. And then the next one, like do everything the same, but maybe like invoice and a contract with 17 hats. You know what I mean? Like just kind of getting used to using it, and then at some point, 2 years later, maybe start using bookkeeping to Lisa. No. But no, like I'm
Baby
sorry,
steps, baby
I
steps.
keep I keep picking on you. But it's like it's the perfect example though. Like when you're not ready for it, like don't do it because it's so overwhelming
It
and you're
is.
just gonna freak yourself out. So just
Yeah.
just add in that feature to your own workflow when you're mentally ready for it.
Mhm.
Because then you can do it right. Otherwise, you're just rushing it. And then you'll just like have a panic attack that you're not doing it right, or like, oh, this next client is not going to have the perfect experience because I didn't send this and that. Like, no, don't worry about it. You sent the last one with PayPal, remember? Like, it's okay. It's totally okay. And they still paid you and they still loved you. Like, it's totally fine. These things are quite like bonus. It's to save you time, and then hopefully make the experience better for your client. But it's not like the end all be all. So don't worry about like being perfect, forgetting to like check this box or like using a template. Like, who cares? Use it and manually type an email. It's totally okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, don't
Whatever
freak
works for
yourself.
you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I that's how I started too. You start off small because there's so many functions. It's like really overwhelming. I think it took me like a whole day just to set up my contract with everything I wanted, plus the invoice the way that I wanted it to look. And by then you're like, I don't even care about all these other functions. Like you just want to send it out. So starting off small with your CRM is it's so good. And then from there, you can like take a look at different things. Like I just started using the expense feature like this year, and I've had it for how long already? So just like I like what Isabel said, take it slow so you don't get overwhelmed with everything that's available to you.
Yeah, and even now, I'm still adding new things to my process, which I haven't even I started testing out new templates, but I haven't actually sent it to a client yet. Is the questionnaire function,
Mhm.
and I know some artists already use that. Who, let's say like they book an event and then they send out a questionnaire to fill out things like, oh, what's the dress code? How many people are going to be there or whatever, like kind of like a post lead questionnaire, if you will. I wanted to incorporate that for wedding jobs where like I could track some key information that's discovered after the lead, because I'm not asking all these questions the moment they inquire. Like that's very specific. I don't want to get into those things until somebody wants to work with me. So I want to like create the questionnaire and start using that function. I haven't actually tested out on a real life client yet. So it's just like at every stage, you're going to be more comfortable trying something new that could potentially help your process. And maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just add work to me and I'll hate it. But I don't know. We'll see when I put it into practice.
Yeah, and like I think it's great to try and see what works and like don't try to strive for perfectionism because that's gonna drive you crazy. You just have to be okay to make mistakes, try different function, like see if it works. If it doesn't, no big deal. No one's gonna notice other than yourself. Like clients have so many million, like they have a lot of vendors too. So like they're not going to remember if you like add or subtract a process. So
Edit feature.
Very good point. They won't remember that last time you sent a PayPal and this time you sent a no one will remember or care.
no, seriously, they won't. They're like, as long as there's a button for me to like
where do I pay?
like, so I think we're already at the actionable advice portion of this episode. And what else? You can also there's like I can't remember in the Honeybook, but there's place where you can add notes about your client, like in your contact directory, and then you can add like little things to remember about your clients that could, maintain that good personal relationship, client relationship management with them, to nurture that relationship, like maybe their birthdays or like some sort of tracking, something that's like that will make you stand out. That they can remember, or maybe it's like, it's their assistant is this name, and then like you can add those notes, so then you can
that's the cream of the crop kind of CRM quality. I use CRM too in my finance job where we track like every itty bitty detail about each client, like the things they like, the things they don't like. They got married in October. They have 2 cats. One's named this and one's named that. Like these are the things that we put down, and then you can kind of usually what happens is like this is in my day job, before I step on a phone call or like have a meeting, I go to their client profile and I like read up and remind myself like their cat's name is Marcel or whatever, and you just like you refresh your memory about this person before you have that phone call, and then it immediately feels like they're talking to a friend, these are things. Yeah. So like you said, like birthday reminders, if you're going to be the only vendor they hired all year who remembered to say happy birthday, like that's a big deal. But yeah, like tracking those little notes, and even things like, oh, I saw them at this job when I was working for somebody else, and then they came by to do this. Like these little notes remind you of that. And then let's say the next time they email you for something, you can say the sentence like, oh, it was really cool seeing you last time at whatever. And that, like, these little tidbits really do make you feel like it's a one-on-one relationship rather than like, oh, they're just hiring a vendor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is networking at its finest.
It's the client relationship management, literally. Like
literally.
like
kind of the point. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like you use it however you want, to what degree that you're comfortable with. But it can be super powerful if you choose to do it.
Yep.
So I think we want to encourage listeners to, just go look at your options. Think about how you currently manage your clients and leads, and like, can a CRM help you make it better? Make your process better, make your life easier. There's tons of free trials out there. Just like sign up for one and just go for it. And if you're like, oh, this is awful, I can't handle this right now, great. Then you know that, right? But if you're like, this is really awesome, I think that could really help my organization, maybe it's time.
Yeah, you'll know when it's time.
You'll know it. You definitely will know. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm like forgetting this. I'm forgetting that. Why am I writing things down? Oh my God, I used to write things down. That was crazy. Like, oh, this client hasn't paid. Like, I can't believe I have that on a piece of
Post-it
paper.
notes everywhere.
Now, yeah, that was literally my desktop. Like, just post-it note. Like, it was insane, man. Like, I don't know why I did that.
I can see the appeal of writing like today's to-do list on paper and then like physically checking them off, but like client data, it's a no-go.
That's you. It's just not humanly possible to like remember everything.
And no.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, so I think that concludes our episode today about client relationship management system. Our next episode, we're actually gonna be talking about wedding life illustration, like wedding guest illustration. So it's gonna be mostly interviewing because she did quite a lot of wedding guest illustration this year, specifically just this past summer. So we're gonna get into that. So thank you for staying with us, listening to the podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.